to normalize and accept these unhealthy behaviors and unhealthy mindsets is setting your child, but also setting yourself, setting our communities, setting up our nation for disaster. And we're staring it
and we're
straight
there right now
in the face.
Yep.
We're staring it right in the face right now because people don't have the bandwidth, because they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the wisdom, and they don't have the experience to be making decisions for themselves. They want somebody else to make the decision for them. And when it comes to the obesity epidemic, we are so far down the path right now. We are so far on the wrong side of this. To right this and bring it back the other way will take generations. Yep. It's going to take generations in order to fix this problem. Yep. And our current generation is ill-equipped to be at the front of this right now. Too emotional. Our youth is going to be the next answer, right? If there is going to be one, and they have to be coached up by the right people. And so by acknowledging these poor behaviors and these unhealthy behaviors as okay and normalizing them is okay. Like when we know being obese is a ticket, it's a fast track ticket to all kinds of bad things, right? Bad things. It's and I'll start with all the basic stuff, all the metabolic disorders that we know, the 4 big ones that are out there, coronary artery disease, heart disease, diabetes. Those are major metabolic conditions, right? Those are the ones that obesity alone, it just puts you at high risk for all kinds of stuff. Like normalizing obesity, not okay. Mm-hmm. That is much different than having like self-esteem. Yeah. Right? It's much different than having a healthy mind. Your
self-image is completely different, right? You got a 6-pack and you're mentally ill. No one cares about that. You're fat and you got a good self-image. Like you're still unhealthy. It's great that you have a good mental image, but like now we need to
we're talking about healthcare and self-care.
Exactly. Completely different.
The difference being like taking care of your health is not your healthcare is not the same as taking care of your self-care. And what I mean by that is hey, I feel okay about myself. I take time out to decompress. I do, I have, healthy social groups. Maybe I even, go take a step further and I see a therapist to help me with my challenges psychologically, emotionally.
You might see a personal trainer.
Or whatever. But the healthcare piece is not matching up, right? It's making poor decisions, making uneducated decisions. Yep. And again, you're uneducated, get educated. This is your responsibility. There are tons of resources out there from free to paid.
And if you focus so much on your body image, right, what happens to the mental and self-image, right? You can literally try to cross over and be like, my body image is my self-image, which is completely untrue. Just because you look good does not mean you're good.
Oh, we know that in spades, right? Exactly. That's a whole thing. Yeah. But what I will tell you is the person that is generally more physically fit, and I don't know that there's a stat out there that could prove this, but the person that is more physically fit and more physically active is definitely, in my mind, more resilient than the person that isn't.
1,000%.
And so we look at all the things that we've been faced with over the last couple of years, just as a nation, as an economy, as a globe, socio-politically, socioeconomically, all of those things. Like, the more unhealthy you are as a nation, the less equipped you're going to be in order to deal with the psychological, emotional things.
Absolutely.
Period. End of story. Because part of becoming or being and staying fit, and I don't just mean 6-pack. Stop defining fitness as a 6-pack. Stop defining fitness as running a marathon. Stop defining fitness as deadlifting. Stop defining it as bodybuilding. It's much bigger than that. We've siloed it into those things. I guess my point being is the person that has gone through a process of getting, staying, maybe getting out of shape and then having to get back into shape has had to suffer a little bit, has had to challenge themselves, has been challenged in a different way. So that when other things come up in life, they may not be sweating the small stuff as much, which goes to the self-care piece of not being weighed down psychologically and emotionally.
Perfect.
So, I don't know what all the answers are. I don't think we're gonna solve for this today. But I like where you're going with that, CeCe, and that it's got to start with the youth, and we have to stop making exercise a chore.
Yeah. That and stop making exercise punishment.
Yeah, we've demonized it, right? Again, like people might go, yeah, but I just heard you saying the other day that, we used to have to run lines. We used to make kids run lines, which I didn't do. I didn't say that. I used to be challenged by my coaches to run until we couldn't go anymore. Nobody died. Have people died because some coaches maybe made some bad decisions and maybe some people were unhealthy and couldn't have been pushed that for? Yeah, it's happened. It's tragic, and that is not what I want.
Very rare.
That's not what I want for people.
Rare.
But let's not over-exaggerate the realities of what we learned in that process.
For sure.
And it was that doing hard shit at the end of the day
gave you a reward.
There was a reward for that.
And it
set us up for the next hard thing.
Because you felt like you were going to die. You didn't die. You came over it, and you were like, okay, when I feel something like this, it's not that bad.
And again, it was the youth. It was when we were young. It was when we were very formable, and we didn't. All our belief systems weren't completely in place yet. Because
you guys were resilient.
Well, we're resilient now, I think, because of those experiences. I think that sets that up for us. But yeah, I mean, once you get to be later in life, you're in your 30s, your 40s, and you're trying to change your belief system about what we just talked about, that particular scenario, it's gonna be very tough for somebody, especially if you didn't go through it. And again, that just goes back to, okay, so that's fine if you're not on board with that.
Yeah.
You're not on board with the hard physical work.
Yeah.
But what do you do and how do you encourage your kids to not be obese? Because you're obese and your kids are obese. And just because you are doesn't mean your kids have to be, which I think is the next piece, which is, okay, I didn't make some great choices and I have let myself get to a certain point, and I might not ever be the guy with the six-pack as dad anymore. But at the same time, I don't have to stay where I am. I can be doing those little things you guys suggested, and at the same time showing and encouraging my kids to do it differently and not hate on myself and not be self-loathing, but let your kids know in a very real way, hey, your dad has to take these pills because he may have done some things or didn't make the right choices along the way. And I wish I didn't have to, but I have to now. And I don't want that for you.
Exactly.
I don't want you to worry about me because I'm doing the best I can with what we have. And I'm going to keep working here. And I want to show you how important you are to me by continuing to do that work for myself. Right? That's how important you are for me. That is the duty that you have, or we have collectively, to our kids. And we are not fucking doing that. We're not doing that. And again, going back to my amusement park, which is like the best cross section of the United States of America that you could ever get. Just go to like a Disneyland or or whatever, a Six Flags or whatever, and you walk around and you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. And again, those are that conversation might be really hard for somebody to go, well, I've never, I don't have to deal with that because I'm fit and I've always worked out and I'm working out now and my kids are, healthy and that's fine. But how can you encourage your brother who isn't that way or your sister or your mom? And it's through having a certain level of compassion. But to your point, CeCe, it is not about writing or signing off on their bullshit.
Tough love.
It sometimes it has to be, and it's about painting a very clear picture. And if you don't have the capacity as a person to have that conversation with somebody, then don't. Then don't. Encourage them to go somewhere else. And don't feel like you have to save them.
Send them to me.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. Like, get them some kind of help, send them a little bit of a different direction.
Yeah.